The mountains had always been a silent witness to Mira's life, a towering wall of blue-gray stone holding the sky in its palm. Every summer, she returned to Kelsa Valley, a remote Himalayan village where her grandmother lived and where the air tasted like pine and cold river water. This year felt different. She sensed it the moment she stepped off the bus, bag slung over her shoulder, breath fogging in the crisp morning. The wind seemed to hum her name. Her grandmother's cottage sat at the mountain's hip, wrapped in prayer flags and wildflowers. After breakfast, she wandered toward the upper ridge, the place her father used to take her before the avalanche years ago swallowed him whole. Most people feared that part of the mountain. Mira felt drawn to it like a promise she couldn't remember making. As she walked, the trail narrowed into a steep cliffside path, and a slip sent pebbles skittering into the abyss below. She flinched, only to hear a calm voice say, "Careful, the mountain tests everyone who isn't listening." A man stepped into view, leaning lightly on a wooden staff, his clothes rough-spun and simple. His hair was dark, his eyes a shade of green that seemed impossible in cold terrain, alive, sharp, watching. "Are you lost?" he asked. Mira shook her head, breath uneven. "Just exploring." His smile curved slow, knowing, or remembering. He turned without explanation, motioning her to follow. Something inside her obeyed. They walked upward to a clearing where wind roared like an ancient choir, and a shrine of stacked stones stood adorned with white ribbons. The man lit incense and murmured words she didn't understand. "For the ones who never returned," he said quietly. Mira felt her heart thud. "My father," she whispered. "He disappeared in an avalanche near here." The stranger's expression shifted, softened. "I know." She looked at him sharply, but before she could ask, thunder cracked above though the sky remained clear. The mountain trembled beneath their feet. He grabbed her hand. "We need to move, now." They rushed back down the path as loose stones tumbled, a thin snow mist swirling from nowhere. The mountain was shifting. He guided her behind an outcrop, pressing her against stone as the trembling eased. His closeness felt startlingly familiar, though she was sure she'd never seen him before. "That wasn't weather," he said. "It was a warning." Mira swallowed. "From what?" He studied the sky, as though waiting for a sign. "From the mountain itself, there are currents here. Old currents, some call them spirits." His gaze lingered on her wrist where her bracelet, a stone charm carved by her father, glowed faintly. "It's reacting," he murmured. Mira felt warmth pulse beneath her skin. "What's happening to me?" He hesitated, then said, "My name is Aarav. I'm a guardian of these peaks. And if that charm chose you blood deep, your father didn't just vanish. He was taken." Mira stared at him, heartbeat roaring like wind. Taken? By who? Aarav's eyes darkened like storm clouds gathering over snowy heights. "Not who," he said. "What?" Mira felt the world tilt beneath her as Aarav's words settled like ice in her chest. The mountain wind sharpened, slicing through the silence as if warning them not to speak further. "What do you mean? What took him?" she demanded, fingers closing around the faintly glowing charm. Aarav hesitated only a moment before stepping away from the cliff wall, guiding her along a hidden deer trail that dipped into dense cedar woods. The trees muffled the sound of the valley, turning the world into a quiet cathedral of moss and shadow. "Long ago," Aarav began, "this mountain was believed to house ancient spirits, guardians and devourers both. Some protected travelers, others hunted souls who strayed too far." Mira swallowed, feet moving before her mind could catch up. "Are you saying my father was hunted?" Aarav exhaled, slow. "Not hunted, chosen. There are rare people the mountain marks. They can hear its call, understand its language." His eyes flicked to her wrist, where the charm pulsed like a heartbeat. "Your father was one, and now you are." They reached a clearing where sunlight cut sharp lines through the pines, illuminating a small cabin built of stone and timber. It looked ancient, yet lived in. "This is my refuge," Aarav said, "for those touched by the mountain." Inside, the cabin smelled of sage and firewood. Scrolls lined the walls, covered in symbols of peaks, spirals, and figures half human, half wind. At the center sat a brass bowl of melted snow water. Aarav motioned for Mira to sit. "Show me the charm." She removed it reluctantly. The stone warmed her fingertips, humming like it recognized his presence. Aarav lowered it into the bowl, murmuring words in a language that felt both familiar and distant. The water shimmered. Then, like paint spreading, an image formed. Mira sucked in a breath, a figure surrounded by swirling white reaching for help, her father. His face was desperate, eyes wild. Behind him, a towering shape loomed. No clear form, only shifting ice, wind, and shadow, like the mountain had grown limbs and intent. Mira's pulse thundered. He's alive? Aarav's jaw clenched. Alive, but bound, between worlds. The image rippled and faded. The water went still. Mira stared at her reflection, pale, shaking. How do we bring him back? Aarav hesitated. Once taken, a person becomes part of the mountain. Their soul feeds the wind. To free him, you would need to enter the place where the veil is thin. The place you took me earlier? Mira asked. Aarav shook his head. No, that was only an edge, a warning. The true threshold lies beyond the Upper Glacier. Mira had hiked some harsh trails, but even she knew the Upper Glacier was considered cursed, off limits. Avalanches fell without snowstorms. Climbers vanished without tracks. You can guide me, she insisted. Aarav's eyes softened with something like sorrow. I wasn't sent to guide you. He touched her wrist gently, reverently, as if the charm still rested there. I was sent to protect you. If you cross that threshold, the mountain may not give you back. Mira met his gaze, steady despite the tremor inside her. My father didn't hesitate. Neither will I. Aarav's expression flickered, fear, admiration, something deeper. He stepped back. Then at first light, we climb. Just as he spoke, the wind changed, low, mournful, carrying a distant whisper. Mira, come home. She froze. It was her father's voice. Her blood ran cold. Aarav's expression darkened. It has begun. The mountain knows you're here. Outside, the trees bowed as if something vast passed overhead, unseen. Dawn crowned the Himalayas in gold as Mira and Aarav climbed toward the Upper Glacier, where the wind no longer sounded like weather, but like whispers trying to speak. The higher they ascended, the thinner the world became. Stone gave way to glowing frost, and the sky curved closer, almost touchable. Mira's charm pulsed at her wrist, guiding her like a compass towards something both dreaded and hoped for. Aarav stayed close, his hand steadying her when the snow concealed narrow ledges and treacherous ice. This is farther than any marked soul has reached, he murmured, awe flickering beneath worry. They reached a silent plateau where an arch of stone and ice stood, carved with spirals that shifted like living breath. Beneath it shimmered a translucent veil, neither air nor water, but both. The charm grew hot, and Mira felt her father's echo, faint as a memory. Aarav touched her arm, expression open, vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen. If you step through, you may not return, he said. I can't follow. But I will call you back. Remember the sound of my voice. Mira nodded, heart pounding. His fingers curled briefly around hers, a promise without words. Then she stepped through. The world dissolved and reformed into a silver-blue meadow beneath an eternal dusk. Snowflakes drifted without melting. Rivers of light flowed silently across the ground. Mira felt eyes on her, and then she saw him. Her father stood a few steps away, younger than memory, smiling with the warm eyes she'd dreamed of for years. Mira, he whispered, arms open. She ran to him, falling into his embrace. His warmth was real, his voice familiar enough to break her. I never stopped searching, she breathed. He cupped her face, thumb brushing away tears. You found me, he said. For a moment, she felt complete. But beneath the perfection, something faltered. His shadow didn't match his body. His words lagged, repeating, You found me. You found me. Mira's heart stuttered. The meadow flickered as though the world was exhaling. Aarav's voice echoed faintly from beyond the veil. Listen to your heart. She stepped back, holding her breath. Her father's smile stretched too wide, eyes darkening like wells. Stay, he said, voice hollowing. Stay. The ground trembled. The illusion collapsed, and the thing wearing her father's form twisted, limbs elongating, face dissolving into snow and wind, a hunger with no shape. Mira stumbled, clutching her charm as the creature lunged. In terror, she screamed, not for help, but with memory. Her father's true laugh, her grandmother's stories, the mountain song he once hummed. Light burst from the charm, blasting through the creature until it shattered into drifting snow. Silence fell. From the dissolving frost emerged a faint outline. Her father, weary, his voice no longer warm but honest, soft as wind. Mira, I'm proud of you, he whispered. I knew you'd climb beyond fear. She reached for him, but her hand passed through like mist. He smiled, peaceful. You must live. That is how you carry me. His form faded into starlight, scattering on the wind. Mira fell to her knees, crying until the meadow dimmed. Then a tug, like a heartbeat, pulled at her wrist. Aarav's voice called her name, urgent but steady. She followed, stepping backward through the veil. She collapsed into his arms, trembling. He held her against his chest, letting her grief spill like melted snow. "I lost him," she whispered. Aarav pressed his forehead to hers. "No," he murmured, "you freed him." The mountain wind softened, no longer calling, only watching. As they descended together, hand in hand, Mira felt something shift. A quiet warmth curled where grief had lived. She looked once more at the peaks that had taken and returned everything, and for the first time, she understood. The mountain had never been a thief, only a guardian. And now, as the sun broke over the valley, Mira walked beside Aarav, not as someone searching, but as someone finally found.